Hey guys, it's Calvin, and I've been journaling since I started grad school, and that was all the way back in 2017. It was a time where I was very anxious and over worried and overstressed about life and school and classes and projects and just everything else. And since then, journaling has become a really integral part of my life, and it's helped me put a kind of sense of focus and direction back into my life. So in this video, I want to share 5 different tips that have helped me when I first started journaling, and hopefully that will help you if you are new to journaling or you're already journaling and you want to improve your journaling effectiveness. So if that is you, then this video is for you. Now, I know that a lot of people may have the wrong idea about journaling. They think it's some sort of task or errand or a chore that they need to do, or they feel like they're too busy to journal, or they think journaling is just not effective. But whatever your lifestyle is, hopefully these tips and tricks will help you either improve your journaling or start journaling. So, tip number 1, schedule a time to journal. Or don't. Now, journaling sessions aren't necessarily the same for everybody. There are people that like journaling at specific times during their day or during their week, and there are other people who don't really like having a set time to sit down and be with their thoughts and try to journal. Everybody's different, so you have to find the most effective strategy for you. For me personally, I find it very hard to be creative and really alone with my thoughts when I have a dedicated time to sit down and journal. So that doesn't really work for me. Now, for the people that actually like having a scheduled time every single day or every single week to sit down and journal, do that. If that is the most effective strategy for you, follow it. But the most important thing there is be consistent. If you're going to schedule 10 or 15 minutes in the morning every single day to sit down and journal and be with your thoughts, make sure you do it consistently. Now, for the people that don't really like having a scheduled time, don't have a scheduled time. And again, this is something that works really well for me. I can't actually sit down on a scheduled time and try to have creative thoughts come into my mind when I'm trying to journal. So instead, what I do is I actually carry around my journal, my physical journal, everywhere I go. And anytime a certain thought comes into mind, something interesting pops up, something that I want to write down, I go ahead and just pull out the journal and I write it down. So choose the time that works best for you. Okay, tip number 2. The paper and the utensils used to journal matter. Make sure you choose the right journal. Don't just use any sort of crappy notepad or paper that you don't actually like writing on. Don't use pens or pencils or markers that you don't enjoy writing with. This is probably the most fun part about journaling, is going out and experimenting with what works, what you like, what you don't like. So my suggestion here is go to the store and actually feel the paper that you would be writing on a particular journal. See if you like journals that are blank white pieces of paper, journals with lines on them, journals with dots on them, different colored papers for your journals, whatever the case may be. As long as the actual paper and the feeling of the actual journal feels good to you, go with that. It'll probably make journaling, the experience of journaling, a lot better. And secondly, the writing utensils. The pens or the pencils or the markers, they matter. Choose something that works best for you. Now, I actually like writing with a lot of different colored pens. That just works really well for me. I can write out different thoughts with different colors. I can use the different colors for different things in my journal, and it's a lot of fun experimenting with different colors. Tip number 3. Don't forget the checklist. Having a journal full of thoughts and reflections and quotes and all sorts of stuff is great. I have a ton of that in all of my journals. But having actual checklist about some habit you want to form or some project that you're working on or some life goal that you want to progress towards really helps. The main point here is that in your journal you have something actionable written down and something that you are forced to come back to every single day to either mark off as complete or write something as to why you couldn't complete that certain step during that day. And again, having checklists for all these different little things in your life is a great way to force you to come back to your journal and actually open your book and review the progress that you've made and to think about future things that you would want to do. Tip number 4, use a paper journal. Now, I know that there are a lot of apps for your phone, for your iPads, for your computers, all these digital apps that help make journaling a little bit easier and more convenient. And that's great. And if that works for you, then go ahead and continue doing it. But the reason I really like using a paper journal, well, there's actually 3 reasons I like using a paper journal. Number 1, space is limited on a paper journal. So this forces you to be very mindful about what you want to write in your journal. Because you don't have unlimited space, you just can't write down everything. So you really have to think about what you're writing and actually condense that down into something that will fit in your journal. And it's a great way to actually reflect on your thoughts instead of just brain dumping everything in your mind onto a digital canvas. Reason number 2, a physical journal is a visual cue to remind you to journal. What I mean by this is that if you have an app on your phone that is meant for journaling, it's very easy to get distracted by your phone. You might want to open up your phone and try to journal, but then Instagram is on the front of your page and you click into that, and then you go into your mobile web browser and then you check your emails, and then all of a sudden you've been on your phone for half an hour and you've forgotten about actually journaling. Now, if you have a physical journal, you can actually leave that journal on your desk or in your backpack. And so every time you sit down on your desk, you see it. It's a reminder for you to actually journal, actually open up the book and write something down. And the third reason I already touched upon is that technology itself can be very distracting. So putting that technology away helps you focus on what you're actually trying to accomplish, and that is actually being able to reflect on your thoughts and be able to write something down. So if you push technology away, it actually makes exclusive time for you, your thoughts, and your journaling session. You don't have to worry about calls or text messages or what's on Twitter or any of that. You can actually devote dedicated time to journaling. Tip number 5. This is the final tip, and it's probably my favorite. It's such a good tip. Okay, so tip number 5 is journal in different locations. Now, some people actually like having a dedicated time and space to sit down and journal at the same place every single day for very, very long periods of time. That doesn't really work for me. So what I like to do is I love going to different places, whether it's at school or at work or a park or a coffee shop or even the mall. And because I'm in a different environment, it tends to spark different creative thoughts within my mind. Because I'm physically somewhere else, my mind is stimulated differently in different types of environments. When I'm here at my apartment, I'm in a certain mindset, but when I go to a coffee shop or the park, I tend to be in a different mindset, and I tend to think about different types of thoughts at different places. And that's really important because you do want to explore all the different areas of your mind when you're journaling. Think about it this way. If you journal in the same place day after day after day, you tend to kind of get bored of actually journaling or doing that same repetitive thing all the time. But as soon as you change your environment, all of a sudden your mind gets stimulated. It gets really excited and inspired by all the different sounds and smells and people and all sorts of stuff, and it tends to spark more creative thought. So when I was living in Boston, one of my favorite places to journal was Prudential Center. So you can probably Google it, but it was this really cool place, and it had a mall at the very bottom of that, area. And I loved just going there and finding kind of a quiet place in that shopping area and journaling, having a little coffee or a tea, and it was just so much fun. So I encourage you to try out different locations when you're journaling. Okay, those are all the tips that I have. Hopefully that sparked some new ideas or creative ways that you can either improve your journaling experience or, start journaling if you haven't journaled before. So if you like this video, please thumbs it up. You can follow me on all my social. My links are down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.